For Soma, taking a deep interest in all of those that report to him and even fully diving in to somebody's relationship and giving them the harsh reality of what their decisions will mean for those that they care about aren't too far off for him. That is one of the things I love the most about this anime. How a realist hero rebuilt the kingdom really shows us into the mind of Soma and how he's really thinking about how he will do just as the title says and rebuild the kingdom. So in this episode, a lot of different things happen, but the main thing that I want to call out is their time in the restaurant, because that's what we left off last week, right? We got left off on that cliffhanger with the little fox girls speaking about some things with the other officer guy on some of the internal choices that they'll have to make with who they're going to represent. Are they for the king or are they against them? Are they going to go and be part of the dukes or are they going to be part of the king's court, right? Or the king's army? And they have to make these real decisions. And they're talking back and forth about Duke Carmine and the three dukes, and you have the fox girl talking to 𝐜𝐴LBERT, right? Is which what his name was, and they're talking amongst each other, and he's saying that he's going to go over to Duke Carmine and he's going to go and represent them, which means he's going to oppose the king. Obviously, she's one of the king's mages, so she's going to stay on this side. And ultimately, Soma finally enters in, and I love how he does it because he asks her a question, right? She's going, like, the fox girl's going full passion mode, and he's like, oh, tell me more about that. And she answers, but then she realizes that she didn't answer 𝐜𝐿BERT, she answered him. And then he inserts himself, and then he pulls them off to the side, and they meet in a meeting room. And he begins to kind of poke and prod them. And what's really funny is 𝐜𝐿BERT, you know, the fox girl recognized immediately who he was, but 𝐜𝐿BERT didn't recognize him. And he had a moment where he's like, how do you know, who do you think you are from pulling us off, blah, blah, blah. And Aisha goes and just smashes him in the face. She's like, Hulk, smash him in the face. And that was a really awesome moment. Obviously, Soma tells her to let him go. And the songstress girl, she was ready to, like, you know, like stab him if needed too, which I just think that everyone protecting Soma is so beautiful. But ultimately, you know, he comes to and realizes, like, oh shit, this is the king. And in that moment, Soma does something that I thought was really cool. And he tells him about, you know, he asked them, like, you know, who are you to each other? And he explains that, hey, we're childhood friends. And he can see that they have some kind of affection or, you know, care for each other. And Soma, you know, Aisha says that, you know, that he lays it on thick, or, you know, the princess says, I'm sorry, that he lays it on thick. But in reality, he explains what the situation would be if he does go over and choose the Duke's side. Is, you know, if there is, and, you know, there might be, if it comes to be like some kind of civil war or some kind of internal war, he's going to have to raise his sword against that who he cares about, which is his childhood friend. So he just asks him, like, is that something that you could do? You know, because if this realistically is to happen, then the side that you chose could very well be the side, if not your hands, it could be the side that kills her. Could you live with yourself? And I don't think, you know, obviously it was obvious, but he did not think of that reality. He was just thinking of things holistically, but in play and in actuality, in choosing that side, you know, he would choose the opposite side of her, and he would have to be against her. And I love that he took that stance. As the episode moved on, his dad comes in and asks for him he asked Soma for forgiveness, and he definitely beat his son in quite a bit. And during that moment, again, Soma takes a really cool point, and he loved that the fox girl, right, Kaede, I think her name was, he loves her view and how she was looking at the war, because she was explaining to him about, you know, civil war and what could happen and the internal struggle, and he loved the way that she was thinking. So because of that, he basically promotes her, and then he gets 𝐜𝐿BERT and he promotes him into the Forbidden Army, which is his direct army, and he promotes him to be her adjutant, which basically means like her second in command, because he knows that since his interest level is high, that he's going to do everything he can to protect her. And if he could protect one of his mage officers, that is going to be, or staff officers, then you know, that is super important. So again, Soma is putting the places on the chessboard, or the pieces on the chessboard, where he needs to be able to win, essentially. Then 𝐜𝐿BERT's dad, this is where we left off on a cliffhanger this episode. 𝐜𝐿BERT's dad goes and he explains something very important to Soma, probably something internally that's happening, and that's the cliffhanger that we get left off on. The other thing that happened in the episode that are noteworthy is obviously the princess, very much went in and asked Soma about all of the different feelings that he has about being engaged. Soma explains he wants to be in love, and she basically says, "Could you not fall in love with me?" Because she is falling in love with him, and I think that was very cute. Aisha had a really funny moment there where she's like, "How long do you want me to pretend to be asleep?" But I just love, and I want to see what's going to happen between him and the princess and the other girls as well, because he can take up to 8 wives. So what's going to end up happening there with everybody as we move forward right into and further into the anime. The other noteworthy thing is obviously the princess is spending time with Kaede and Halbert, and I love her maid that always pokes and prods at her as well. And she's like, they need to tell her more about how you can raise your affection levels day in and day out. And I thought that was really cool too. Overall, though, guys, like, I'm really enjoying the anime each and every single week. I love seeing the political side that they decide to take each and every week into the anime. I love seeing they showed us a big moment here where him and his minister, the guy who kind of looks evil, is giving him the lowdown on every surrounding country and state and kind of what all the other dukes are doing and who his enemies will be. And they dive really deep into it, and they go into the understanding. And I love that, because then we're able to understand how Soma thinks and what's really going on from a political fashion. I just kind of love that they're taking, again, this different take on the isekai genre. It is awesome to see, and I love it so much. And no action has happened, but verbal action has happened and is being taken, and I love seeing that. But let me know what you guys think about this episode down in the comments below, guys. Make sure you guys subscribe and like before you dip out today. If you didn't catch it already, go check out our review or our reaction, because you're watching the review. Go check out our reaction of this week's episode right here. YouTube says you should watch this video here, and we'll see you guys next week for episode number 7. Peace out, guys.